Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is I'm watching Riverdale, Season 6, Episode 16? 17.
Chapter 112, American Psychos.
Oh, yeah. We're like about 5 away.
Yeah.
This was a weird episode.
Yeah.
Mixed. For me, mixed. Was it just all bad for you, or...
No, there was a lot of stuff I liked.
There was a point around the third mark where I was like, guy, this is unwatchable.
Okay. It was the most unhinged decision to choose to reenact the American Psycho musical. I suppose it was easy for them and they didn't have to pay for it because Roberto wrote the book.
They would still have to license it. But
whatever.
It was the episode full throttle. It started. You didn't have a second to you had to be there. They had this little council in the Cooper house where Charles still is there. I love it. He did nothing.
Is he not still wanted?
He did nothing in this episode. Yeah. It was so I've chronicled my appreciation for Wyatt Nash over this series, but he also, my favorite part was he was apparently there as like a serial killer advisor.
Yeah.
Like as a serial killer, he was like, well, yeah, this checks.
Like a consultant.
There you go. Yeah. That's what I was going for. Very funny. No qualms. I don't know. So they have SlaughterCon as an attempt to lure TBK so Betty can catch him.
Yeah.
That was the plot. And then the second plot was still this like union thing that's going on with Archie and Tabitha.
Don't worry. They kumbaya'd the fuck out of it and everything's fine now.
Okay. That was so stupid to me when it was happening. I didn't realize this was the patented Riverdale musical episode. Yeah. Even this show just has a relationship with musical numbers.
Yeah.
So, and we'd had a lot this season. So I was just sort of like, I mean, I guess, sure. But then, it was like, we were like 9 minutes into the show and Archie and Tabitha are kumbayaing with all the families of the workers. And I was like, Riverdale.
Because, well, it's also because Percival has like mind warped them into like breaking their union talks or whatever and going back to work because this railroad has to be done on schedule.
It was not even that it was lame or that it even happened, but I was it felt like the kind of thing Riverdale would have built to, and that would have been the second to last scene. It was its placement in the episode where I was like, what?
It was so early.
It was so bizarre, but so I have to assume that song is from American Psycho.
It has to be, but I don't know. I like, because it doesn't have really like lyrics, so I don't know I don't know which song it is. It had to have been, but I don't know which song it is.
Kevin's role in this episode was purely baffling. Even more so than his arc this entire season. It's like they're doing it on purpose. It's like they got to, like, Casey was gonna leave, and the writers were like, we've got a great idea. Instead of giving you good material, we'll parody the bad material we've been giving you.
It's so bad.
Because Rachel came home like 10 minutes into the episode and she sat down and she was like, how was Kevin part of this? Like, I'm surprised that they're even talking to him. I was like, they blew right past it.
Yeah.
They barely, it was Veronica's idea that he was going to come in and do, but he's not even, him singing is such like, what's beyond tertiary? Like,
well, I don't know, because then also Betty thought that TBK was like attacking him on stage, so she got up there and tackled him, and then he diva'd out of the whole thing by saying that Betty ruined his vibe. So he didn't perform.
He threw off my groove.
He didn't perform his final song, and Betty had to do it. Unhinged. And then also he had the absolute gall he and Cheryl end up doing a spell to try to drive a wedge between Toni and Fangs. And instead, they make baby Anthony sick with such bad colic, they don't know what they're going to do, like if he might die or something. And he's like, I never would have done it if it was going to hurt that baby. that he has been aggressively trying to get custody of for the entire season. He calls him that baby.
Well, because you pointed out in like our previous episode where you're like, effectively, he's just trying to steal a baby. Like he's trying to take a baby.
He has no claim whatsoever.
It was, but I'm saying like of all the characters, this is again a show with a relationship to music and musical numbers. We have had multiple characters express a talent and an interest in singing, and he is so far down on that list that how he was the headliner and they were like, well, Kevin will do it, obviously, and I'm like,
he's trying to go to Broadway.
No, I understand that, but that came so late.
Okay.
Like, Archie was a singer. Josie was a singer.
Well, and
Veronica was a singer. Cheryl was a singer.
Kevin was always the one who wanted to direct the musical. He directed all the musical. You're totally right.
This whole him wanting to go be an actor on Broadway is from like last season.
Yeah, you're right.
It's such a late in the game development that it's like the fact that he was headlining this con doesn't make any sense, because on top of him being so far low down on the priority, but they're actively fighting with him.
Yeah.
It was very strange. And it was also like, it wasn't nearly as homoerotic as it should have been.
For an American Psycho musical?
Being sung by Kevin Keller.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was very bizarre. Betty was, as is usual, the MVP of the episode.
It was a relatively Betty-centric episode, so that checks out too.
Lily is still a delight to watch make this make sense. Do you? Yeah. I'm going to go on a tangent. Maybe it's worth it. You'll tell me. Do you remember that experiment they did like 10 years ago where they had a computer, like they had AI write a movie? They fed it like 1,000 movies and they had it write a movie, and it was utter nonsense. And the initial point of it was to prove that...
Is it the one that Thomas Middleditch ended up acting in? Yeah.
The initial thesis was it was going to prove that machines could make art. And not only did it not make any damn sense, the people who ended up performing it was one of those like 48-hour music or movie festivals.
Yeah.
The people who ended up performing it found a way to make it, through their performance alone, make it work.
Yep.
And it was just a testament to the human spirit.
It was cool if you can find it. Yeah.
This is that.
Yeah.
This tastes like that.
This tastes like that. No, I agree.
Betty is Lily Reinhart is the person who's making it make sense.
And Roberto is just a supercomputer.
Is the AI churning out nonsense?
He is the supercomputer that has been fed nothing but pop culture for the last 40 years.
And so we were continuing with her story with Drake, which, I mean, they had to.
Yeah.
It was obvious from the beginning, but there was a part of me that was still a little shocked when we were watching it. And I love how absolutely into it Betty was.
Okay, also, I love that Drake just was like, hey, bitch, I got feelings. Do you got feelings?
It was actually kind of amazing.
She went whole hog straight into it.
And but it wasn't out of nowhere either.
No.
Was a little bit prompted where she was like, I'm going to go ahead and just say it.
She shot her shot.
Betty was like,
oh my. Me? Flattered.
Like... I don't know. It was really great. And then you and Rachel were cracking up watching the episode because we were sort of talking amongst ourselves as whether or not we thought, Betty was like what she would do, and spectrum, sexuality, gender, binary, all that stuff. We're not having that conversation, but I'm like, I wonder if this is something Betty would do. And Rachel's like, well, she has the single most lesbian dream ever because it's the next morning. So the coitus doesn't factor in anywhere.
The dream is about the morning after, and Drake is just like bringing her the newspaper and a cup of coffee.
They're like insensible sleepwear.
Like flannel nightgowns.
It was I was like, oh, tapped into something, did we? Archie, man, I love him. I love KJ so much. His hair's getting long. It's a thing. I was like, he's so I love Archie. Well, he was really good in the episode. He was doing everything Betty was telling him, and he was letting her have
The space.
Yes.
Yeah.
The time and the space to sort of figure out what it is she's thinking.
Well,
and
I loved, too, because her conversation with Drake was like, it just doesn't, like, do you guys really have that much in common? He doesn't really seem to get certain parts of you or whatever. And then Betty had also an amazing talk with Veronica where she was like,
apparently these two women are friends. They
friends.
know each other and they actually care about each other.
so she was like, I just compartmentalize my relationship with Archie all the time. And Veronica was like, well, everybody compartmentalizes
To an extent.
something. So, like, is it really that? Or are you, like, actually sincerely interested? You know, it was, like, just a really nice thing. And then Veronica did something really weird, which is...
No, I liked it.
I didn't not like it. It felt... Maybe it's just because it's been such a long time coming for her to do anything
It was protective.
of Betty.
Yeah.
She went to talk to Drake, and she was like... She also was really hung up on the unprofessional aspect of it.
So I don't quite remember. Is Drake in any way superior to Betty?
No, if anything, Betty is technically superior to her. Yeah.
I couldn't remember. But no, I actually really, really liked it, especially the way that neither of them were playing games.
Yeah.
Veronica was like, hey, I'm Betty's friend. I think you should.
She's going through a lot.
Yeah, I think you should leave.
You should let it lie.
And to which Drake was sort of like, okay,
Fair
like
enough.
Noted, like blah, blah, blah.
And then to that same vein...
And didn't manipulate.
No, 100%, which
I
was
kind
great.
of loved it.
And then to that same vein, when Betty was talking to Archie about, like, the darkness and stuff inside her and, like, how she's just, like, sort of unsure if she wants, like a husband and kids and stuff. And he just was like, well, why don't we talk about it tonight after everything's over?
After your big musical number that you have to do because Kevin bailed.
And she was like, okay, great. And they just maturely waited until later that afternoon or night to talk about it. I'm obsessed with I really, really, really I'm like a bughead person from like a lizard, like a Kristen's lizard brain perspective. But like this Betty and Archie stuff is actually like tinging all the boxes for me.
Well, because they like had this conversation where he fucking listened to her.
Yeah.
Like, and it was filmed extremely intimately. And
a lot of their scenes have been. It's actually great. I love it.
It was very strange. That has been the weirdest part of this entire season for me, is how much I have been enjoying it and then comparing that to the things I don't like, and then also contemplating its placement in this overall series.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's so weird to have a season that I am enjoying as much as I am at this point.
Yeah.
It's like after a terrible season and then two very medium seasons.
Nibbling, yeah.
So it's, and then we do get plots like this Betty darkness thing. And your husband was out watching like the last kind of chunk with us. And I felt compelled to be like, by the way, this didn't just come from nowhere.
Like
this
episode 1.
This has been in the show from the pilot. And part of me is fatigued by it, but I think it's an interesting and relatable enough concept.
I also think they've approached it from enough different ways, because the reason we're addressing it here now is specifically because of the TBK thing, where like she was held captive and she did have to delve deeper into her darkness by dismembering that body and like just compartmentalizing that and putting it away in a box kind of. And so I think it's worth it because they've been, you know, at first it was like, well, her dad's evil. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, well, she has like a murderous brother kind of. And it's like how all these things affect it, how like now that she knows it, can she actively work against it, or is it like totally inevitable? I don't know. I think they've approached it from enough angles. And also, if this is the last we ever hear of it, I'd be fine.
I'm not going to go that far. However, I don't want it to be a massive plot for the rest of the show. Yeah. Because I 100 this was also this was Archie in top form. Yeah. Like because his sort of like conversation with her and KJ's performance was so good, and sort of like that story with the bird, things like that can really feel like, oh, this is convenient, but it felt very authentic here. Right, yeah. And the TBK thing is interesting. I think where I'm the most annoyed or fatigued by it is because it is sort of a rehash of the Black Hood, but it's different enough to keep it going. She had this very strange interview at the con where her mother was interviewing her. And again, it was out of nowhere based on Alice's behavior in the previous episode.
Well, the previous episode was when she was taking care of Charles. So now it's like two episodes where seemingly Alice is out from under the thrall of Percival, except for I'm sure when we come back in 2 weeks, she'll be back at it on her bullshit. But it's the kind of Alice I like, and it's the sweet spot for both Mädchen and Lily. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that TBK, he keeps trying to use Betty's behavior as evidence that she is dark.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but her behavior is what's making her not dark. It's the fact that she is talking about this stuff. Yeah. It's the fact that she is pondering, thinking, working through it. She's finding ways, because they say you can never get rid of your demons. You can only trick them into serving you.
Right.
And so it's very strange. I want to know who the Black Hood is, but I also don't, because I can't imagine a single person that it would be that wouldn't detract from the entire arc.
Sure.
Because
I'm sure we'll find out.
Well, we had several guesses, because you even said, oh, no, it's Moose. And I'm like, but that would take away from my enjoyment of the season.
I agree with that.
So part of me wants it to be, and I guess this is what you meant. I guess this is what you meant when you were saying that if we were done with it, you'd be fine.
If we're just finished, it's whatever.
Because she shoots him, or a version of him. He lost a lot of blood. I guess it was real. I don't think she was hallucinating it or whatever. And she freed Alice and Charles.
He had cooked her dinner.
Yeah.
In the garage.
Well, because I was like, it feels like it still has to be Hal.
But then it has to be completely fake. Hal's been dead for years.
In a way that, I mean, I know this show pulls that shenanigan, but it's, I don't know. So I'm trying to...
There was an absolutely absurd song about the girls getting ready. Which is all the women from American Psycho sing it. It was just basically like a laundry list of designers.
I was going to say it was not as good as My Strongest Suit from Aida. A dress has always been my strongest suit. That one's way better.
Yeah, it was called You Are What You Wear. And there is not one, there are 2 reprises in the Broadway show. One in Act 1 and one in Act 2.
But again, though, that musical number that all the girls did was easily one of my favorite parts of the whole episode.
Visually, it was a ton of fun, and everyone looked amazing, but it was not a good song.
Cheryl and Heather had some stuff. I can't put my finger on Heather. Is she pinging you in different,
there's something about it when she smiles. I'm getting not quite so much Psycho, obviously, but I am getting Homelander vibes. There's nothing going on behind the curtain. That's just smiling for the sake of it.
Because I also think, I think this was a very near perfect version of Cheryl, because she had amazing looks, that her fucking tits in that first, the green velvet. And she was volatile.
Everyone's tits. Betty's tits were showing up at the end, too.
She was being volatile, and the way she really flew off the handle with that spell. But then, again, it was placed so early in the episode that they had time to, fix it, and she learned her lesson. I don't know. It was the right kind of capriciousness that I want from my Cheryl. But it did sort of end with them finally saying that they had these feelings for each other.
Well, I feel like they've done that 3 times already.
They haven't. They've talked around it, remember?
Yeah, but...
So, and then they went into the bed, so I'm not entirely sure.
After Cheryl showed her a painting.
A very creepy painting of them holding hands in a hallway.
When they were young. I think they were also wearing their Sisters of Quiet Mercy outfits.
Were they? I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm stalling a little bit because I feel like I'm forgetting something or we're missing something. There was no Jughead.
No, he's still in the bunker. He's doing as well as he can.
The Fangs and Toni didn't really matter. It's the same.
So, Frank and Percival, is that where you were gonna? Percival's about to take things biblical.
Literally, I think there's gonna be plagues.
Next week, there's a plague of locusts.
And whatever they're trying to do, they have to do either before or in conjunction with Bailey's comment.
Right.
So it is some kind of magical soul of Riverdale, apocalyptic, something.
And there
or other.
also was, Katie Keene provided all of the dresses, but apparently Lucy Hale is too busy to make a guest appearance on Riverdale. I don't buy it.
I cannot believe K.O. Kelly is fine, but is he okay? Is he out of the hospital? I cannot believe that season 6 of Riverdale expects me to keep in my mind
that Katie Keene happened.
that Katie Keene was a thing. There's no scenario. Why it could have been Josie didn't really do dresses, but regardless, I don't know.
And then there was like a guy at the con who had like 2 different Black Hood weapons, and they caught him twice, and he wanted Betty to sign and then stab or shoot him with the weapons because he's a big fan.
So I think there were tears. I think he wanted her to sign it, and then he was like, and then maybe kill me, and she was like, no.
If you want to stab me.
And then he was like, well, how about sign this too?
Yeah.
It was, I wonder if that's going to have any effect on anything, because it served its purpose in this episode, but also plots like that they make sure that we know happened tend to come back in some form on Riverdale. So, she sang her song. It was presented very strangely because we cut from commercial break to them talking about how well her segment went down. I was
in the middle of an all caps tweet. I was furious that we didn't see her because everybody was like, "Oh, your song was so amazing. I can't believe the TBK didn't show up. Oh my God." And then I was like, I fucking swear to God.
But then they played it over her like closing story arc. So yeah, I think that was about it. Like I said, all in all, it was mixed to good, I think, on my end.
Yeah.
And then we're off for 2 weeks.
Off for 1 week.
You said 2 out there.
No, in 2 weeks we have a new episode. The 26th
off
is the
for
next
1
episode.
week. Okay. And they're gonna do this the rest of the summer?
I don't know. Because there are no other dates listed except for the one that's in 2 weeks.
They're going to one on, one off. So, all right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. Apparently the likes do the best for us in the algorithm. The more likes, the better we do. And comment and Patreon and tweet and Insta and all of the rest.
Thank you.
I don't remember any of the music. I am barely breathing.
Fuck you. Duncan Sheik is amazing.
I'll book us tickets to American Psycho.
You did your stupid pop punk voice. You dick.
Don't waste your time on me. You're already my ad.
Bye.